Well, at that time, we still had part of our single family portfolio. We were selling that off, but I will be honest with you, Dan and I wanted to see how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So
we were rather conservative. We wanted to prove it out and we did. And when I first went to that first event, I was thinking, okay, let's learn how it works. And even when we did single family, we don't jump in and just start throwing money around. We learn how it works first. Yeah. And we did. And in learning it in that first event, I was thinking, let's learn how this works. And maybe later in the year, maybe we could buy 20, 30 units.
Hello, everyone. We're Jacqueline and Melvin Landry, and we welcome you to our podcast, Get Diversified. Throughout these series, we'll cover all the topics and questions you have about investing in apartment buildings, storage facilities, and mobile home parks. Being knowledgeable in these areas will help you feel more comfortable about investing. Apartment investing equals building wealth. Building wealth equals financial freedom. Achieving financial freedom allows you to spend your time with building memories with your loved ones. Let's face it, time is the one element in life that is limited, and you don't want to waste it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Get Diversified show. We are here in the continuation of our Power Couple series. Today, we have the Riddles. We have Dan and Sharon. Welcome to the show, folks. How are we doing today?
You're wonderful.
Doing great. We're so happy that we're here with you and Jacqueline. Melvin, we're just really very, very pleased and happy to share what we have been learning in 8.5 years in the multifamily side of things.
Ooh, this is going to be a good one. 8.5 years, multifamily real estate, a lot of good nuggets. I'm sure pros and cons across the way. So we are very happy to have you here on the show to share with the listeners the vision you all have started with, how you've matriculated through those years and where we are today, right? So happy to kind of get started and jump in. So, dear, you want to kind of kickstart things off?
Absolutely. All right. Well, again, so great seeing you guys. I think it's been a few months, like 2 months or so since we've seen each other. So you're looking great. So tell us a little bit about who Sharon and Dan are. Maybe we could start with you, Sharon, girls first.
Okay. Very good. Well, I have a lot of cross skills. So that's what I've been able to use on the multifamily side of things. I do have my MBA. And as I said before, we've been in multifamily for about 8.5 years. Prior to that, we were in single family. So I know you're probably going to have some couples who have come from that area. And I know that you all have started that. So that's kind of where we are. So at this point in time, I'm doing a lot of the social media side of things. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But Sharon Riddle, I have my MBA, and we do have a 27-year-old daughter that we will be getting into multifamily real estate as well.
Ooh, nice.
All right.
Nice.
Awesome.
And we have been married 35 years.
Nice. How about that? Longevity. Great stuff. Dan, you want to jump in next?
I'm Dan, and we're out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Live in Denton's, about 30, 40 miles now north. And it's where the 35E and 35W meet from Fort Worth and Dallas. So we've been here most of our lives and know this area well, and we love what we do. I have been in the aerospace and defense industry since 1986. I have through a master's degree as well. And we went along a number of years. I came up with a sort of a transformative time to think about what I really wanted down the road for a future. Many of us can look back and remember what happened around 9/11. And I was in a company that was a subsidiary of Boeing. And the net effect of 9/11 is the big mother company cut production by 50%. I was sitting as a manager at the local site in the Dallas area. I had 14 people that were working for me. Mm-hmm. And they told me, your job's okay, but you're not going to be a manager. You're going to go back into the detail role, which was fine. I had 14 people, and they said, there will be 6 of you left. So 9 of my people would have to leave. And I'm like, that can be brutal. One of the gentlemen was early 60s. I'm like, wow, that woke me up. Mm-hmm. And everything worked well for me personally, for the next couple of years. I maintained my pay level and management level back in an individual role. What does that mean about where you sit with all the other employees? I was over the pay range for that group. And 2 years later, Boeing sold us to someone else. And this group came in thinking very cost conscious, want to reduce costs. At that point, I gave myself within 2 to 3 years, they're going to see what I make and I'll probably be gone. What the heck am I going to do? Mm-hmm. I'd seen opportunities that could take me out of the area, like halfway across the country. But our family was set here. Our extended family was here. The grandparents for our daughter were here. She loved her school. I said, I can't do that to my family. So what's my alternative? And it was, what can I do besides what I've been doing for those 20, 30 years at that point? What else could I do? What's another way I could move and transition to retirement? So that got us thinking. Mm-hmm. And after about a year, I came up with 2 alternatives. Real estate was one of them. And after a little more evaluation, I went to some learning opportunities and talked to people. I eliminated the other one, and it was real estate. That's what led us to start out like most people do in real estate. The vast majority start out buying some rental properties, and that's what we did. So with that,
quick question for you, Dan.
And at that point, we hit a transitional point that I think I'll let Sharon share with you.
Okay. Well, honestly, Dan went to a Managing Your Money seminar. And basically what happened was he came home and said, Sharon, this is something I think that you can help me do. Not unusual for the husband to come home with something like that. I have to share with you all and the audience. It happens, doesn't it? My dad was also had his own business in construction subcontracting. So I am the construction brat of the family.
Okay.
So that's how all of that kind of happened. And then, we ended up getting into single family, and how we ended up getting into multifamily is through another single family mentor we had in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we went to our mentor, Brad Sumrock's event for the first time free. He doesn't do that anymore. Yeah. So that's how that all happened. And 8.5 years we've been investing, and we've had up to 18 multifamily properties now. So, and we're happy to be in a millionaire mastermind with the Landrys.
So I'm really happy with the way we took this path and all, because it gave us a path to invest and do things that we can make the money we want and be free. And there's beautiful things about it. I've invested in a lot of different kinds of things through the years, but this one is the best thing I've seen. And for us, this works better than anything else, because you have not only the income, but a tax advantage that most other things don't give you.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Hey, Dan, can I ask a question about what the other investment type is that you were contemplating besides real estate?
Well, I'll share with the alternative to real estate. I was really intrigued and interested in options trading, the online trading. And I decided, let's check both out. And I did. And I actually got some software I used in a test account. I took a very small amount of money, started playing it, learning it. But after a few times with the training sessions and all, I came to a different realization about it. Talked to the guy, and I asked him, how often do you do this? Oh, every day the stock market's open. And okay, how long do you work every day? And he's like, well, I'm usually done in 4 hours. Well, that sounds good.
Wow.
But there was a catch there. Being online to the stock market every single day, they're open. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, that's more like just an everyday job. You got to be there. And yeah, you may work a few hours, but you got to bring it up. And at one point I asked him, what do you do on vacation? I'll take the laptop with me and I get on for a few hours in the morning. And here was the catch. I found out he was divorced. And I'm like, No, I'm not going down that path. I like the way I have it. I like my family and all this stuff. And I want something else that's not as intensive every day, that I have a freer schedule. Mm-hmm. And I think I found a quote from Warren Buffett just the other day that captures my whole thing. It basically says, unless you can find a way to make money in your sleep, you'll work till you die. And I'm like, that. I just saw that 2 days ago, but that really captures it. I want something that can potentially make money in my sleep. Yep. And that can be possible in real estate.
And especially in multifamily, we have that scalability that we never, ever had in single family, plus professional property management. And I didn't have tenants calling me in Colorado while we were trying to have a family vacation.
Yep. And so January of 2015, we set a goal. We have been wanting to expand all the single families and get more of them. We'd always kept it small, not a whole lot at one time. And I did a calculation. If I want to retire, how many houses we got to have? We had 7 at that time. Mm-hmm. We needed 33. And I'm like, that's going to take a little work. We can get there. Wow. But then we had talked about multifamily way back 15 years ago, that maybe we'd look at it someday. And I just told Sharon, maybe it's time we look at putting them under one roof. And that's when we went to start looking. And it wasn't but a month later, got an email from a mentor of us saying, hey, here's something you might be interested in. Mm-hmm. And it was Brad Sumrock's R2R. Yeah. Back when it was free. And we said, well, cost is right. Let's go learn it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we signed up with Brad, because at that time he was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we'd heard about Dave Lindahl and some other mentors in that space, but they were not
here local.
They were not here local at that time.
So we were ready to go at that point. And
Dan was really ready to pull that trigger.
And I did find something too. Some people talk, we'll tell you, it's part of it. The power of it is scalability, which is absolutely true. And instead of buying 33 single family houses, our first apartment was about 120 units.
It was.
And you can do all that under one roof.
Yeah.
It's more effective, more efficient, and you can make a lot of money, and some of it can come virtually in your sleep. So that fit where we wanted to be, and we've proceeded from there. We sold our last single family in 2019, and this is the route we go, and we're working to expand it. Looking fairly soon here to launch a new website and really get more involved than we have been.
Okay. Awesome. So I have a question for you, Sharon. So you said that you've done 18 deals so far.
As an LP.
As an LP. So for those users that don't know what LP stands for, that stands for a limited partner. And typically what that means is limited partners don't do any of the heavy lifting. They just help to contribute so that contribute to the investment so that someone can buy the building. Because these buildings are usually pretty expensive, anywhere from 10, 15, 20 million up to 150 million. So we need the additional passive investors or limited partners to come in, like the Riddles, to help close the gap on that. So what made you decide to be a passive investor and not an active investor when you first started multifamily?
Well, at that time, we still had part of our single family portfolio. We were selling that off, but I will be honest with you, Dan and I wanted to see how it worked. Mm-hmm. So
we were rather conservative. We wanted to prove it out and we did. And when I first went to that first event, I was thinking, okay, let's learn how it works. And even when we did single family, we don't jump in and just start throwing money around. We learn how it works first. Yeah. And we did. And in learning it in that first event, I was thinking, let's learn how this works. And maybe later in the year, maybe we could buy 20, 30 units. It changed my mind when I was just sitting there. Started thinking, well, in that network, the leader's saying, you can have access to my Rolodex. Now, some younger people may not know what those are anymore, but it's a file of your data, your database of people you can contact. So you can, in other words, you need property management, you need maintenance, you need this stuff. You can use the people he uses. Start there. Use someone that's proven by, at that point, maybe 100 different investors using these people. You're using the people they use. All your vetting's done. And I was like, my gosh, we can do this faster. And then we found out real quick, you do more of it by being a group, because you're talking multi-millions of dollars to go in to fund one of these, just one particular investment. And it takes group purchasing is what we really do. And it takes a group to do that. You'll have a GP team that runs it. They're the ones that find it, do all the analysis, all of the detailed work, but still they're the CEO. You have property managers, maintenance people, you have lawyers, you have all kinds of support people working to run this business. But then the LPs are absolutely critical, because that's where the bulk of the money gets raised to actually, any loan you get typically in this environment, you might have to raise 30, 40, sometimes in today's environment, 50% of the purchase price. You may have to raise that from these individuals to pool your money and do it all correctly, legally, SEC compliant, and the whole
Yep.
Well, and I will also tell you, Jacqueline, that just because we started as a passive investor, that doesn't mean that is our current goal still. So we are looking to enter into a general partnership. So, of course, we did a drive-by on a property, just yesterday. And we didn't get out because it's over 100 here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah. It's really, really hot, excessively hot up here. But that is not where we are. And that's the beauty of multifamily too, is you can expand your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. So quick question for you. So as an LP investor, how did you know who to give money to? Because as we all know, there's millions of people out here that are raising money for different apartment buildings. So how did you know which group to give it to? Did you underwrite the deals yourself? Did you do your own due diligence? Did you know the team? Tell me a little bit about how you as a couple made the decision to invest on a particular deal.
Okay, well, we knew the teams to start off with, and it was also based on submarkets as well, and the property itself. So there's multiple factors, but I'm kind of one of those wonky people. I will read everybody's bio. I will read all the property amenities, things of that nature. And then Dean and I will talk about it because, of course, he was doing his W-2 job still, and he still is remotely for Bell Helicopter. So I did a lot of pre-work to kind of really make sure we knew who we wanted to include and what tranche of money we had at that point in time.
So every deal we would look at underwriting it to some level, but actually the rest that Sharon may not be sharing and all is how she vetted a lot of these people. I will say I'm more the technical person. I'm a numbers person. I work in spreadsheets and business systems and stuff like that for big aerospace companies. And so I'm in more of the numbers crunching, the analysis side. And Sharon is the people person. But she has an incredible opportunity or capability of getting information out of people where they just tell her the darndest things.
I always call the team.
And so she would talk to that potential general partner, but also talk to upper people in the group to say, have you invested with this person before? Look at their track record, really look at their position. If they have a, and usually most people you can tell pretty quick with how other people talk about them, if they have a definite integrity about them and have a history of doing well. Because you're getting ready to park your money with someone that you're going to trust for anywhere from 3 to 7 or 8 years. And you really need to do your due diligence on the person, even more so. The numbers are important too. They always are.
Yep.
But that's where you got to start. And so a number of those people we started with, we ended up investing with multiple times because we already knew them.
But
And
we did know some through Brad Sumrock's group. There was a DFW meetup that we would attend, and we've invested with that sponsor on several properties. But one question I will tell you that I love to ask potential general partners is, what excites you about this property?
Yep, absolutely.
Because that's not going to be in the OM. That's not going to be in the webinar and the presentation.
get their vision of what they're going to do.
Yeah, I want to know the vision behind the business plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that you said over and over again, and it's important about that is it's 80% about the people, 20% about your knowledge. So I go to a lot of family office events where I'm hearing multimillionaires, billionaires on the stage talking about who they give their millions and billions to. And that is people that they know, like, and trust. And they said it's 80-20. They said, you know what? I can see if I know the high level numbers and I know you and I trust you, I'm writing that check for $25-30 million. And so I love that you guys say that. And, you know, as you start to get into the GP roles, you're going to have to get into the details. And so you'll be more numbers focused, but it's definitely a different world. So we are co-GPs. I didn't know if you guys knew that or not, but we're co-GPs in 2 deals in San Antonio. And just getting into the underwriting on a daily basis, I get deeper and deeper and deeper into the numbers and learn more and more and more on a daily basis. So it's fascinating. So Dan, you're going to be super excited. Sharon, maybe not, because you're more of the talker and the marketing person in this. But I think together, based on what your roles are and your strengths are, that can work really well together, because Melvin and I are very different as well. Took us about 18 months to figure out what our role is. I think we kind of started off by thinking what our role is, but now we're really starting to get comfortable in, what we're doing, and we're starting to trust each other in unveiling all of the roadblocks and stuff like that, and really, allowing the person to get deeper and deeper into that particular role. So with that said, I want to ask just one question for you. So I know, Sharon, you said that you're more marketing. Dan, you're more the numbers. How is that going to pan out in your new venture into the GP space or the general partnership space?
We're already.
Oh, she was asking me.
Oh, is that Sharon?
Yes, that's
either one.
Okay. Well, I will say that we're already touring some properties. So I do some of the touring of that. Dan does some preliminary underwriting. I am the woman who does shop the comps.
Okay.
And we've got another partner that we have worked with that actually does part of the tour with us. He's an engineer, so numbers are his friends too. And since I do have my MBA with a lot of accounting and finance hours, and did budgeting, numbers are my friends too, but in a different kind of way. What Dan kind of brings me in on is when he's done some initial numbers. So he's pulled that into the analyzer from our mentor, and then I kind of take a look at what the numbers are shaping up like, and he shares that on Dropbox with another general partner that we do tour properties with. So I'm not off the hook regarding numbers totally, Jacqueline. I'm just kind of really brought in to kind of see how the numbers are starting to shake out.
Same here. Yeah.
Awesome.
So we've actually been actively working at GPing for now a year and a half, almost 2 years. And you think we've vetted the ones we invest with LPs. We even spend more time vetting those that we're thinking of partnering with, because you'd be working with them on a weekly basis into details through whatever issues, problems that might come up, solving them. And you're going to be sort of joined at the hip for the next 3 to 7 or 8 years. So you need to get the right people. You need to make sure they have the similar values that you have. We're really big on integrity. it is critical. I'm not going to do business with someone that I don't think they have absolute integrity. And we have been asked to partner in groups before where I thought they were real quick saying, hey, why don't you come on board here and help us raise the money and do the work? And that's okay. But I didn't feel we were at a place that we were ready to be close partners like that. And so we're selective in who we do business with, whether we're the investor as an LP or partnering with people. You need to do it correctly and really make sure they're committed to the same value system.
But I also value people who, as general partners, who are willing to build a relationship with us, because I am very big on relationships, because once you have a relationship with someone, you have some investment in that individual, and you have that trust. And I think that's really, really important in the current economic environment. You really have to work with people that you trust, where they are, and they're not afraid to talk about numbers and where things are and where things are landing and going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We talk about that all the time. There's certain people that we've met since being in the real estate realm that, we'll start talking about, how about this person? I'm not quite sure. Right. So we have that conversation all the time because they don't share the same values. How would they act if there's a catastrophe? Right? Are they going to flip out on us? What if we have an emergency? Are they going to be able to, carry the water, right? And oversee the task without us being there? How trustworthy they are. And that's super, super important. And for us as well, right? We're getting ready to hopefully become a lead GP on something. And we want to make sure that the team that we form is super outstanding, and again, just be able to get the job done, and most importantly, not sing kumbaya when everything's going well. I care about when it's not going well, because look, guys, this stuff, it's not going to go well at some point in time, right? There's always going to be bumpy roads, and that's when I really want to understand how you're going to act with that, right? Are you a team player? Do you want to hear each other out or not? So super important. All right. So let's move on to the next question. How do you all separate business from personal? So as a married couple, 35 years, how do you do that? Or do you not do that?
Some days are better than others, I will say. And because Dean and I had started out in single family and then multifamily for several years now, and we've been married 35 years, a lot of that can kind of cross-sect. So we really have the main thing that I appreciate, and I really want Dan to do and continue to do, and he knows this, is to kind of give me a heads up as far as what we're going to do, what we're looking at, because I want to shift my mind to that task at hand. So we talked about it ahead of time before we did the drive-by, on the property in Wiley. But those are some things that I really appreciate and want, and just kind of have a plan, and we continue to work on our plan a lot. And I will tell you right now, since we're launching a website for the partnership, the GP LLC, and we're working with a team. It's a stage broker team. And then they're also developing a slideshow for our signature talk that we went to. We've really got a lot of things that are going on this summer to make us attractive GPs and continue to add investors to our database, quality investors. And one of the things that my marketing person wants me to do is to launch a blog.
Yeah.
So to train our investors better, and so they're knowledgeable in what the multifamily space has to offer, and know the terms, and give some things some thought, and do that on a biweekly basis.
So one thing that helps us the most right now is between the multifamily and single family, we've been dealing with this for 18 years.
18 years.
So things don't throw us particularly. Sometimes they come when you don't expect it, but being in multifamily, I don't get a call on New Year's Day saying I moved out last night and I cut the electricity off and it's 15 degrees outside. Because there have been instances in where I got to get in the car and go down there and check and protect our property and all. But this is more of a team sport. It really is. And and nowadays, with the amount of money it takes to buy these properties, you're probably looking at 3 to 5, maybe more general partners working together. So there's several of you working closely that can cover all this, but you really rely on the other players, your property management and other players. What I really love about Sharon, she has a gift of people just sharing things with them, unplanned. And sometimes you wouldn't believe what it was. There was one property last fall, we actually did an LOI on it. We didn't win it, but we went through the whole steps. Anyway, I looked at, before we went down for the property tour, I told Sharon, hey, I see a couple of these apartments on the rent roll. I think they're getting some sort of rental assistance, Section 8 or something. Make sure you ask the property manager if that's what's going on and all. And our partner we've been working with is really into the numbers. He's a typical engineer. I work around a lot of them. And he's not as verbal. And he's sitting there, and Sharon just asked
He's taking notes all the time.
I think y'all might have about 3 people getting rental assistance in there. And the guy turns right back and says, well, actually, it's 21 of them. And that can be pretty significant.
Yeah, Mariana almost fell over.
It's like he was sort of like, how did you get that out of him? And I said, Mariano, I've been around her a long time. I don't know how it happens either, but people know everything. So you leverage each other, know each other's strengths.
I really think it's just a comfort level that people have with me very quickly. And it probably is because relationships are so important to me. And while I love numbers, I am probably more people dominant first and Dan more numbers. But, that's kind of fine because I kind of, I bring both of, Mariana and Dan along with me because you don't know what you're going to learn when you open up a relationship a little bit more. And just a kind of a little open-ended question, you never know where it's going to go, and be prepared for that.
Well, sort of back to your one question on how do we manage this? Does it cross over and all? Yes, it does. A lot of times it does. But the important thing I think we find is there are times it's important to be in that moment for whatever you're doing. Yeah. We can transition fairly quickly, but we went to my mother's memorial service in April. There was no real estate going on there before or after because you know when it's right to focus on something. But that's also a strength too, because when we don't have a lot of things going, we can stop and do what we need to for the business. And we've been doing that a long time. Our daughter started walking houses with me when she was like 9 years old, and she could tell people more about their foundation than they probably knew. But and all that. So it's been integrated in our family, and that even our daughter, when she was young, growing up, she would do things. When she was in high school, she'd help Sharon with taxes and paperwork and other stuff. And so that's why she's committed to be an investor, because she grew up in the trade almost. Yeah. But that's what we try to do. We work as a unit. We work together. There are times I'll stay up to 1 a.m. doing analysis, and sometimes I'll get on, even though Sharon goes into the apartments and talks to the different comps that we need to go research and all that. I put a lot of stuff together ahead of time and figure out who are they, where are they. I'll go on the websites and get preliminary passive information, and that enables her to ask better questions when she's there to dig a little deeper. And so it's just a constant back and forth teamwork. And sometimes, just like if you're in a W-2 job, you don't always agree eye to eye. And sometimes you're not totally pleased with your partner, but that's life.
Well, I will say one of the things that I have really tried to do over the years when I'm talking to Dan about something is really hone in or leverage his math dominance, because that's how I get him to kind of open up and talk about some things, because it's kind of like, okay, what are we looking at? What is the day holding for us? Well, before he would probably just lean more towards underwriting period because it's numbers. Numbers are always his friend. Well, now he is on Zoom calls with me regarding our stage broker team and our marketing team. And before, that's kind of a shift that has gone on with us. He's really been open and doing more of that. That's more project management work, which is probably a tie-in for him. But it's not just exclusively numbers. It's things that have to occur as we expand the GP LLC.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Hey, I want to ask you one question. So is super successful single family and passive or limited partners, and the fact that you're, embarking on the GP role, I'm super excited to see where you're going to land. I hope one day we can do a deal together.
I was going to say that too.
I think we share a lot of the same values. So how can people find you if they want to hear more about your story and your journey, maybe have a little more in-depth conversation?
Okay. Well, we do have our email address until we get the other website up and running. You can email us at riddledsn@verizon.net. I am very active on Facebook, Sharon Birdsong Riddle. And then Instagram as well, Sharon Birdsong Riddle. So Dan is still working on the social media side. We're just trying to encourage him to kind of keep that level of activity up. And we're not quite there with him, but we will get there.
I know. Well, one last thing, one last thing. So I'll tell you, usually I would put makeup on, do all that stuff. So this is no makeup, guys. This is just me raw. And so I've learned, from Melvin, just kind of go out there and do it. And I'm becoming more and more comfortable as I do podcasts and just am, face on with folks on Zoom. So, hey, look, guys, we love you guys. We thank you for being on our podcast. And I can't wait to have you on in a few months for you to tell me all about your GP deal.
Very good. Well, we are so excited that you invited us, and we love seeing you at mentor events. We love seeing you at the Millionaire Mastermind. And Jackie, I was so glad that you did go to Mexico. You had some concerns, but you went there solo, and I was there solo too. So both of us were there solo.
I probably drank a little more tequila than you did.
Yeah, there was some tequila going around.
Well, we really appreciate, too, this opportunity to spend some time visiting with you is terrific, and look forward to more in the future. And someday we will end up on the same deal as GPs, I think.
I think so. And I am honored that you have us on your podcast. And I know that you've really put a lot of hard work into this podcast. And I hope that your audience really appreciates all that hard work and what you're doing.
Indeed, we're progressing along. We try to drop dimes every week, and folks, you heard it from Dan and Sharon. Look, they've been been on a single family front. They've matriculated to multifamily. Ton of passive deals, really understanding, knowing the team, digging in to get further understanding, and hey, that's part of the game in terms of understanding and trying to knowing the team and investing in these opportunities, which brings passive income and financial freedom along the way from a long-term standpoint. So on behalf of myself, Jacqueline, Dan, and Sharon, we appreciate you folks. Thanks a ton.
Thanks again. Anytime.
Bye.